How could so much possibly happen in the span of 1 week? I don't know. I'm still struggling to process it all, but what the fuck? Welcome back to Human. My name is Jessica Jane, if we have not met before, but you can call me Jess. And I've been posting weekly episodes for maybe a month and a half now. And I've been really enjoying how each week I get to kind of sit down and I have an idea, I have a theme of what I want to talk about that week. But I also just catch you up on what's going on. And my intention with this podcast is that it's like just a little bit of a girly chat. It's a low lift, easy to listen kind of vibe. And I didn't know if I would get an episode recorded this week because so much has happened and I didn't want to put pressure on myself to share anything like prematurely. And so I woke up this morning, my boyfriend and I really intentionally wanted to have like a morning where we work on our dreams, basically. There's a lot to juggle in a day and I'll get into all of this, okay? I'll get into all of this, but the point of why I began that sentence was because I felt called to share now. And so I'm excited. Buckle up. There's a lot going on, and trigger warning too. I won't be getting into it too deeply, but I will be talking a little bit about death as I experience the loss of a family member this week. So a big theme, I think, for this episode is allowing yourself to feel multiple feelings at once, which is something we need to do in life a lot. And also another theme is that like timing in life is just truly not always up to us. But I do believe in the timing of the universe and things happening when they're meant to. But again, I'm going to preface this with my grandmother passed away earlier this week, and we had the funeral yesterday. It's been a lot. And when I was at the funeral yesterday, I just had this moment where I was like, this is a very different experience when it's someone who's lived a long life. And my dad made a speech at the wedding, or at the wedding. Oh my God. A speech at the wedding. He made a eulogy at the funeral. I did as well. My aunt did as well. And my dad in that eulogy said, like, my grandma had 9 lives and she used every single one of them. And it's so true. And I had another moment at this funeral where I looked around and was like, oh my God, there are certain family members that like we've been through this before. They've been through it before I was even alive. Like there's people, when you know grief, you know grief. And I don't know, I don't hope that, I don't wish that on anyone, but it is something that at some point in your life, I think you grow to have a relationship with grief in some way, shape, or form. And I'm saying all this because when we were at this funeral, I've been at funerals where people were really young and they went too soon. And so I want to be sensitive that timing and universe and believing in something bigger than all of us, it's not always possible in loss, in death, and it doesn't always make sense. I've had a childhood friend pass away at 23. I've had an uncle pass away at 40 who had 2 kids, like young kids. So I've been in situations where I'm not going to say what I'm going to say today. And the reason I'm saying what I'm saying today, I want to really make sure I emphasize is my grandma lived a really long life. My grandma struggled with a lot of things. And so, I can kind of look at it from this lens of it's okay that it was her time to go. It's okay that she's at rest now, but I don't necessarily feel that same way and would say that same thing being fresh off a loss that is sudden, tragic, young, heartbreaking. And yes, this death is still a lot of those things, but it's in a different way. So that is a little caveat to today's episode, a little bit of a heavier theme, but we're going to go through all the vibes today, I feel like, because I'll start you off kind of where I left you last week, which was going into the last week of Josh and I renting our Airbnb. So last Thursday, when you listen to this, it'll be 2 Thursdays ago. It'll be March 5th. March 5th was the 4-week mark of our Airbnb and then going into our 5th week. And I'm so fucking grateful. This is why I'm saying I believe in the timing of the universe and things being guided in such a bigger way than just ourselves, because I am such a planner. I'm like obsessed with always like scheduling things and booking things and being like, oh my God, I'm going to do this thing for this day and go to this workout class with this friend. And this is my birthday and this is what I'm going to do for it. And for my birthday, I actually tried to make a plan. I like loosely said to my friends from high school, one of them who's editing this podcast, love you, Ben. The other one who's literally dating Ben, who I've been close with since like middle school, love you. I won't shout out your name just in case you don't want to shout it out, but you know who you are. And I was planning a hangout with my friends from high school. And I planted the seed a couple weeks prior, being like, if the Thursday of, the 5th works, great. And then closer to it, I said, hey guys, actually, like, would Saturday work? And it didn't really work for most of the people. So we ended up doing Thursday. Again, it's just like, I just think this was meant to be. So we had the most beautiful hangout on Thursday. Multiple times I was looking at them and I was like, I love you guys so much. I'm having so much fun. And it was not too structured. They came over to my house. I made them fresh sourdough bread. We ate it together. We had a fuck ton of food all together, and we went to a board game cafe like 2 seconds from where we live, and it is not Snakes and Lattes, so don't assume. Josh and I have already been to Snakes and Lattes. It is not the same vibe as the place we went to. I might gatekeep the name of it. And so we go to this like cute, small board game cafe, and it was hilarious. One of our friends was like, okay, I'm just going to go see if they have space for us because it looked pretty full. And the reason I decided to go to this place is I was hesitant because it looked so tiny, but I remember walking past it, going into like a back alleyway to get through like our garage to get to our place. And I saw the back. There was a back of it where you could hang out in the back. And I was like, oh my God, okay, that looks actually cooler than I thought. So let's like try that place out. So my friend goes in, he comes back out and he goes, okay, guys, they have space for us. But one thing, we have to take our shoes off. I'm like, slay, let's take our shoes off. And so I didn't really get it. As soon as we walked into the restaurant, we didn't just take our shoes off. We like walked through to the back and we sat up on this like elevated mini stage that was covered in pillows and a little table. And we got to sit crisscross applesauce and order unlimited tea that came with like the cover for the board games and being in the space. And I got a grilled cheese and it was delish. And I just like, we played code names and we just had such a good time. And I was so happy. And I was like, that is like truly all I want for my birthday. Some good friend hang time. So that was Thursday. And it's not my birthday yet. My birthday's on Sunday. My birthday's March 8th. This was March 5th. So then on March 6th, I have a cousin, like a second cousin. It's my mom's cousin, but I have this cousin who her birthday's March 9th and she lives in Whitby. And there's a spa in Whitby called Thermea. And it's like a great outdoor spa. And it's become a little bit of a tradition for a couple of years. My mom and her and I, and sometimes other family members will go to this spa and celebrate our birthdays. I fucking love a spa. So we had this plan to go on Friday, but this time our group was even bigger. It was like my mom, my cousin, but then like her sisters and their mom. And then I was like, Josh, you love spas, come. So Josh came. And then Josh was like, I feel like I'm crashing girls' day. So I'm like, okay. I said to my brother, I'm like, you need to come after work. And it was great. We all met for lunch. And then we went and we had a whole spa moment and we stayed till it closed. And it was just a perfect day. Like even before then, Josh and I went shopping. I got a new outfit. It just felt so good. And then going into the weekend of my birthday, weirdly enough, like my birthday's on a Sunday. I took Sunday off work. I had Saturday and Sunday where I could continue celebrating. But I just said to myself, like, I just like don't want to make plans on the weekend. I don't know. There was something I just felt a gut instinct where I'm like, I don't want to have plans. I just want to be able to be spontaneous. It's like one of our last weekends downtown. We could just like go for a walk, stroll around, just see how we feel, whatever. Good thing I didn't have any concrete plans because we found out on the Saturday that my grandma had passed away. And this was a shock. Like she has struggled not only with physical illness, but mental illness for a really long time, as long as I've basically been alive and coherent. When I was really little, she would take us to Canada's Wonderland and she would like be amazing and help my mom out a lot. But once I became like 10 years old, she struggled a lot. And I remember being just like immersed in that was like a huge part of me having a relationship with her and knowing her is that like she had it a little bit tough. And yeah, that's all. I'll get into that. And so finding out she passed was a shock. And I was so relieved that I already got the chance to celebrate my birthday, because then like my birthday was the next day, and birthday messages from family were like, happy birthday, sorry about your grandma. And there was just a lot of emotions, and the timing of everything was just kind of wild that it happened like that. But then the timing kind of kept being crazy. I am downtown. I only have 1 week left. So this week that is intense grief mode. If you've had a loss in your life, you'll know that like the week you find out someone died is insane and emotional, and especially when they're a really close family member. Like my brother and I were my grandma's only grandkids, and my mom's sister flew in and spent the whole week with us. But I usually live at my parents' house. I usually live in my parents' basement. And yet I have this Airbnb for 1 more week. And also, because I'm downtown, I mentioned in last week's episode, I decided to go back to my therapist, who I've seen in person. And so last week I went to my therapist. This week I went to my therapist. And I just had an appointment booked with her on Wednesday, a couple days after we found out that, like, I obviously didn't book prematurely thinking my grandma says, like, I didn't know my grandma was going to pass. And so it was like such a godsend to have that. And I also booked like a 2 week cheap like trial at a yoga studio I'm obsessed with around the corner. So I was like, I just am going to force myself to go to like a bunch of yoga classes. And even more so, I'm just going to keep zooming out further and further into the craziness of the universe, is like at the beginning of March, I was supposed to be teaching Pilates a lot more because a new studio is opening up for us. And it got postponed to not opening up till the end of March. And I felt so much resistance and so much weirdness. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have so much space in my schedule. Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to feel? Like, scarcity, I need to make money, all this stuff. And my coworkers at Othership were like, girl, like, you're clearly being given space in your schedule for a reason. So like, trust that. And thank God, like, I mean, I appreciate people kind of saying that to me, because I'm like, thank God I had that space, because this was a crazy week and I didn't actually have to take any time off work, because I didn't work a lot this week because I don't have that much on my plate right now, versus at the end of the month I will. And yeah, like, it's just been kind of crazy how it's all unfolded. And I feel like I was really meant to be at this Airbnb during this week of grief, because what I'm literally working through in therapy is that, like, I will be in it with you so intensely. Oh my God, I love my coworker. I ended up taking a spontaneous class at Othership and just like sobbing and starting to process all of these things happening. And my coworker said to me, he's like, it's funny how we can try to be so, like, we're instinctually so empathetic and such feelers that it's as if someone's on a boat and it's sinking, and you just say, let me jump on that boat with you. And then you sink together, instead of standing on the land and offering your hand and holding space and not drowning with them. Pardon the use of that metaphor with the death theme going on, but like, that's exactly what I've kind of just been like my whole life. That's a little bit of what's been modeled to me too. And so literally talking about this in therapy, talking about this with my coworker, like, I'm like, wow, the fact that I basically, I could have gone home, but like, my aunt was going to stay in the basement then, and then she had her space there. And so it was like, it just made sense. I'm like, I'm staying here with Josh for 1 more week. It was like forced physical space, because my mom and her sister are going through so much, and I'm so close, especially with my mom. And so I would be going through it as if it were my mom passing. I feel like I would be in it so intensely with my mom. And don't get me wrong, it felt weird. It felt wrong sometimes to not be in it with her. I FaceTimed her. I talked to her a lot. We had some good cries together. At one point, I just sat on FaceTime while my mom and my aunt and my dad just looked through pictures, and it was just comforting for me to just like be in it with them. But I'm like, wow, like, I also turned 25. I also just turned 25. My frontal lobe is developing. And I'm like, wow, I said to my therapist, I'm like, I feel like I'm becoming an adult. I feel like I'm becoming an adult. And so I feel like I'm learning how to allow myself to also have some healthy distance from things, and not always feel like, it's mostly like, I'm still working on all of this in therapy, but it's like allowing myself to feel feelings and not worry about how that's going to make someone else feel, if that makes sense. And if it doesn't, that's okay. I'm still fucking figuring it out. So all of this has just been wild. And on top of this, just to add another layer of like our Airbnb situation, Josh and I, like a big push for why we decided to do this is Josh lives with his parents and his sister got married and moved out a few years ago, but she just bought a house with her husband and they're renovating. And so they moved into Josh's parents' house temporarily while the renovations happened. And it was just so funny because they're like, renos are happening. Like, we don't know how long we're going to be here for. They should only take like 2 weeks. And I'm like, Josh, renovations take a lot longer than 2 weeks, especially when you're ripping up floors. And so him and I had like a night, I've talked about this already, I think on the podcast in the past few weeks, where it was like, dude, like, let's just go fucking 5 weeks. 5 weeks is like, it's so fucked. You think 5 weeks is like not that, at least for me. I kind of feel like, oh, I don't know. I think he thought 5 weeks isn't that long. He's like, in 5 weeks, I'm getting ACL surgery and then I'll figure out what my next step is. Then I'll probably move out of my parents' house. And I'm like, but so much, like 5 weeks is like kind of a long time to be like unhappy. And so we decided to move into this Airbnb. And funny enough, his sister and her husband have been at his parents' house this entire time. And the day they're moving out is the day that we're moving out of our Airbnb. And Josh and I are going back and separating. And he's going to go to his parents' house and I'm going to go to my parents' house. And so I'm just like, we couldn't have written that story. His sister did not have that timeline from the start. Like, okay, universe, shut up. I see you. You're controlling things so much bigger than us. And that's just why, like, I call it the universe. Josh says God, whatever you believe in, higher than yourself, if you believe in something. I think it's cool to like lean into it, especially when we are going through something challenging and then yet also holding joyful things too, like a celebration of my birthday. And Josh and I kind of making decisions about what's next after his surgery and just loving living together. And it's been a wild ride. And this week I have just barely slept sometimes. And my parents have said the same thing. Like they've been sleeping like 2 hours a night, which is crazy. And I felt so much relief when the funeral was over yesterday. I said this to my friend. I was like, low-key, it sounds weird, but like best funeral I've ever been to. And it's kind of like interesting to say that because it's like, for me, I've been to quite a handful of funerals over the course of my life. I'm 25 too. And so that's like, I learned about grief fairly young when I was in grade 8. But this was the first time I've ever spoken at a funeral, which was so nerve-wracking. And I don't think I was like honest fully with myself or anyone else, like how nerve-wracking it was. But like Monday and Tuesday and even Wednesday, like I just could not sleep. And this poor man I'm living with was just like feeling the wrath of it. Like I was like a little kid at 2 or 3 in the morning being like, I just can't fall asleep. And just being so upset and like having a tantrum about it. It felt like, but I started to like have this mentality of like, I'm just going to tire myself out. I'm just going to work so hard to tire myself out so intensely so that I just conk out at night. And for the past few nights, except for last night, we realized halfway through our Airbnb time that we have a pull-out couch. And so we started like sometimes sleeping on it. And at first it was sometimes when I was sick, Josh would sleep on it. But with all of this happening this week, I was sleeping on it more. And I started to have a rule with myself. I'm like, if you go to bed and you toss and turn twice, like you lay on one side and you can't do it. You can't fall asleep that way. And then you move to the other side and then you do it again. If I ain't going to go do it a third time, I'm done. Go to the pull-out couch. And that really, really worked because I felt like when I got to the pull-out couch, I could just sprawl myself out. And I'm a sprawler. I need it. This bed here is like a double, maybe a queen, but I think a double. And I've talked about this already. I'm a broken record at this point. But it's been really good to like learn a lot of lessons about what you need living with someone and what you thought you needed and you don't. And so I want to share a little bit about that too, because when Josh and I would think about living together, I would be like, I need 2 bathrooms. I need a bathtub. We need multiple bedrooms, whatever. And so it's been cool to actually trial it out and know that one, no house is perfect. No where you live is going to check every single box. I mean, eventually, maybe down the road, getting a dream house. But like houses have quirks, apartments have quirks. Like that's inevitable. You're going to have like funny, silly things that you could just never anticipate and you make it work. And it was really nice because last night after everything, we had some rest time after the funeral. And then Josh and I went out for dinner. I actually had a moment where I had so much pho and I think my stomach felt so off all day. I had to leave the restaurant and go get fresh air. I was like, Josh, I think I'm going to throw up. I didn't, but I just felt so nauseous. Like I just had a bellyache all day and the funeral was like super early. Like we needed to be there for 8:30 in the morning. So it was just like you start off your day just like not in your normal nature. So I literally at the end of like it was the best pho or not pho. Ramen, Jessica. Can you tell I've had a long week? Please forgive me. We had ramen, not pho, or pho, as you may call it. So anyway, we're having this really nice chat during ramen, and we were kind of realizing like what's working when we live together, what's not working, and like what we need in a place, and like what we love about this place. And it was just kind of cool because some things that I just thought I needed. For example, I just really thought I needed 2 bathrooms, mostly because I don't want to smell his poo. And I'm like, I literally don't need 2 bathrooms at all. And it's funny to say that because this morning he had the most spicy ramen last night and he had just a sitch this morning where I was like, bro, and I opened like every window we have in this place because I'm sitting in the kitchen closest to the bathroom. He's at the front of the house. He doesn't have to smell his poo right now. And so I was like, dude, that was so gnarly. But he's like, it's the ramen, it's the ramen. And that's basically the only instance in this entire 5 weeks where I've been like, oh my God, I just don't want to be. And it wasn't even like we need 2 bathrooms. I already went to the bathroom this morning. I was good. It was just like, I don't want to smell it. But I think that's just part of what you learn to do when you cohabitate. And other than that, I mean, I'm like, it's funny, even when I had a roommate, I was so relieved I had my own ensuite bathroom because I'm just kind of like sensitive about my need to go to the bathroom. Like I pee a lot. I'm a very hydrated gal. I feel as though I spend quite a lot of time in the bathroom. And so I need it to be a safe space for me. I can't like, not I can't, but I just don't want to like, and people might be like, LOL, shut up. Like I've had 5 roommates in a house with 1 bathroom. That's a rough life. I mean, no, but it's a challenge and you have to navigate it. And I've shared bathrooms before and it is like you have to wait until someone's done. And so I just didn't really want to do that if I didn't have to, if him and I were going to live together. But this man barely ever goes to the bathroom. And I kind of like forgot that I knew that. Like we'll hang out like pre-living together. We'll hang out for like 5 hours. I will pee maybe once every hour. He will just not pee. And I encourage him to be more hydrated, but he is the way he is. So I'm like, damn, okay, we don't need 2 bathrooms. Slay. We don't have a bathtub. We actually have the teeniest, tiniest bathtub. It's hilarious that it's even kind of a tub. I wouldn't even call it a tub. And I miss having a bathtub, but I've learned in the past 5 weeks that I can live without a bathtub. And I'm like proud of myself for that. Another thing we've learned is that both of us need to leave the house. I leave the house so much and I'm so social for my job. And so I'll come home sometimes and it's like, he's so chipper and he's so excited to see me. And I'm like, buddy, you need to go burn off some energy because I do not have the energy to make it up with you. But even that to say, like, moods are so temporary, bad moods, good moods, all the moods are so temporary. And it was really nice. Josh said to me last night, he was like, to live together, like long term, we both need to change things about ourselves and it's for the better and it's okay. And we need to just be honest with ourselves and be real about that. And that's like part of the experience. And I was like, damn, because he's such a night owl and I'm so not. And I'm like, layout wise, bedroom wise, like how are we going to make this work? Because like I struggle to fall asleep if like you're sometimes still up versus you can stay up late and then you can just nap. And then I realized I'm like, oh my God, I exert so much energy in a day at my job versus he works from home. So I'm like, this makes so much sense that like I need more sleep than him. Duh. I'm like in a sauna and running around teaching Pilates. So life is just a roller coaster of things. And there's just been so much to hold this week all at once. Exciting things, celebratory things, sad things, grief-filled things. And I just wanted to share about the ups and the downs and to also like say that this is such a sliver of my life sharing on the podcast. And just because I sound great right now doesn't mean I'm not crying later about some of the hard stuff going on or allowing myself, which is actually, I struggle more with this, is to be happy. I struggle to just like sit in my feelings and let myself be happy if I want to be happy, which is wild. Wild. I want to let myself be happy way more often. We're allowed to be fucking happy, no matter what other people feel. Anyway, crazy. And I shared on my blog on humantohumanpod.com that I figured out that I have mutuals with my therapist and like a crazy mutual, like a coworker I know well. Anyway, go to read that on my website if you want to, or subscribe to my newsletter. I send out emails once a week that share just a little bit of like more of what's going on, something that I prefer to put in written form rather than put it in podcast form. And then you'll get like that little message knowing that I have a new episode out on Monday. Once in a while, I probably won't have an episode out on Monday because once in a while, we all need breaks. But I think that's just a fun way to stay connected, especially because I'm not fully sharing about this on the pod, on Instagram quite as much as I'd like to. But I'm like, baby steps, having grace with ourselves, especially in weeks of grief and loss and tragedy. Like, we need to have all the grace with ourselves and also allow yourself to prioritize you when you need to. Like, I did a lot of yoga. I did a few workout classes this week and it just helped my sanity. So take care of yourselves and know that you're not alone. And something I've been experiencing when I leave therapy is like I walk around the street. I've only experienced this like twice, but I'm like, if you allow yourself to be happy and to feel your feelings or to be sad and all the things, and not just go on your phone and disassociate, especially when you're in public, because it's so easy to do that on the streetcar or the bus or the subway or whatever. I've had a few moments where I'm like not doing that and I look around and you see people who are happy and the happiness becomes contagious. This guy was like jamming out to music, smiling on the subway after a therapy session I had, and I wasn't on my phone and I noticed it and we smiled at each other. And then I was like, I should listen to music. I'm gonna listen to some music. So I put in my headphones, I listened to music. I was walking down the street, almost getting home, and this guy smiled at me because I think he noticed I was vibing to music. And it just gave me this moment of like, none of us are alone. Like, yes, we feel lonely. Yes, we are by ourselves a lot sometimes. But if you allow yourself to get out in the world and have your eyes open, you will have, and pardon the pun, human to human connection. And we need that to live. We need that to survive. And I felt really safe at the funeral yesterday, looking at the family members that were there, knowing I have people I can turn to, knowing I have safe people, and knowing that a lot of them, we've been here together before. We've gone through loss together before, and we'll get through this one again. And we're all going to see each other at Easter. And I'm so proud of my mom because my mom is such a rock and she's such a gatherer in our family. There's a few women in my family who just really make sure the family gets together. And yeah, it's a really cool thing to see. So thank you so much for listening. And before I go, I promised I would give a little shout out because I got to see another great family member at the funeral yesterday, and her daughter, Charlie Jessica, listens to the podcast all the time. And I just want to tell you, I love you, CJ. I love that you're listening. It means so much. And I'm just so happy that, yeah, I feel like I'm being like a sister from afar, hopefully giving you some just insight into what's going on in a 25-year-old's life, even though you're 12. And that's amazing. And you're a badass. And if you want to shout out, submit a question to the podcast. I really want to know, any of you listening, what you want to hear, what questions you have, or what, topics you like that I talk about, or just tell me a story and remind us all that you have shit going on too, or you have something funny going on, or you pooped your pants and you're not alone. We're not alone. We're all doing it together. humantohumanpod.com/podcast. It is anonymous, but if you want to put your name, you can totally put your name, and I would love to share more. So ask me anything. Literally anything. Someone asked a question a long time ago about period products. I will get to it. I promise. It will be a TMI filled episode. My God, I tried recording a little bit the other day and I was like, wow, this is going to be an overshare episode, but I promise I will do it. And now that I've said it, I will. Okay. Have a wonderful week ahead. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.